for me, what is so compelling is around that it really was geared to, I mean, it's open to everybody in Jersey City, but it was really directed to address the inequities for children living in poverty and children of color. It is directed to closing that gap. And that is what we have to remember, that we have to pay particular attention to that. That's why I always get a little nervous about variability. That's why I embrace the idea of a strong accountability system about these are the standards, this is what should be happening for children in these classrooms, and we have to ensure that. Because that is the only way, I believe. I think you're absolutely right. There's always that question about, well, what do you expect? You know, these children are living in poverty, and those are not factors I can address in terms of I can't go out and give them money, but I can
give them an education.
And I think you're absolutely right. That's what we have to do.
Yes. Somebody asked me a few days ago, did I think, based on President Johnson's war on poverty, that we would ever win the war? My answer is no, we won't. We won't until we bring our educational system up to standard that all children, every child, can be educated. Because then every child can get a job. Every child is making money, then yes, we'll do away with poverty. But poverty is just not going to go off the map all by itself because we wish it away, and we can't wish it away. We're going to have to find ways that we can bring our children along and make sure they get the education that they need and that they can get a job once they get out of school. Number one, that they stay in school long enough to get an education, because we have such a high dropout rate. And that's one of the things that we really, I think that children get so far behind, they just give up.
Or if you live in Bayonne, you can see the Jersey City 3- and 4-year-old program blocks away. And I was in Belleville recently at an elementary school that's struggling, that's 4 blocks from Newark. The kid on one side has it, the kid on the other side doesn't. And if you go around the state, you're going to find that those inequities exist. So besides the educational advantage, beside the economic outcome, recently there was a police chief from West Orange testified before the legislature that they are supporting pre-K because they think it's the best crime reduction program around. So you go through all of that. We have set up a system now in which 35 have, and they've got a great program. And we have 102 that don't. And that kid that lives in Bayonne, because the speaker's here, so I'm going to push Bayonne all night.
Thank you.
That kid in Bayonne that needs it is no different from that kid in Jersey City.
3 children actually attended the pre-K program in Jersey City, and my son's in kindergarten now, but he's still in a trailer. But I was actually at the SDA this morning. There was a meeting for the School Development Authority.
I was just saying, tell everybody
yes, the
what
School
SDA
Development
is.
Authority, who, you know, the constant question I ask is, you know, will we get any more pre-K buildings in the city? And I, you know, constantly hear no, and I wonder what is that you're doing with the board, the city, and the state to advocate for more, for them to, or at least the governor, to give us more money. We're talking about universal pre-K in New Jersey. Where are we putting these children if we can barely do it in Jersey City?
It's about a political will of a community. It's not just the superintendent, it's not just the board. It's about the community coming together around the same purpose. It isn't a matter of saying to them, give us more money, because what the reality is, the SDA, they do not give us money, they actually do the building. So they're not going to give us any more money. It's not a matter of they're giving money. And as an SDA district, we can't even have a referendum or raise funds ourselves to build this. So we are locked into what the SDA does. In recent conversations with Charlie McKenna, one of the things that was discussed was there was a time when Jersey City was slated, and in the offices in Jersey City was slated to have several early childhood centers in key spaces. And then there was a political shift about what should happen and whether or not there should be self-contained spaces. So all of that was put to a halt. So currently some of the things is that For instance, the new Noonan School that will open in Noonan, named after an early childhood director who was famous in Jersey City. But that school, part of the building of that includes the 150 additional seats, and so the SDA says, look, well, we're giving you new seats. Part of it is we're looking at and we are advocating for and constantly on the lookout and talking to the city about, well, is there some place where we could have some shared space in existing places around this? But I really think it is not simply the responsibility or the practicality. It's got to be a matter of, when you talked about those letters and calls that the elected officials are getting, it's got to be a lot of people understanding the power of their voice and understanding that they need to advocate, and they need to advocate for every single child.